Hi beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the worst makeup products of 2022. The year is coming to a close. I don't foresee myself reviewing anything in the next 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks of the year. So we're going to talk about the worst makeup products that I tried this year. Now if you have like a really terrible, crappy makeup experience, I'd love to know what product did it to you. Link down below, because I feel like we all have different experiences. Maybe it's a product that you hated and I like. I don't know. I would just let her know your worst product of the year that comes to mind. Link down below. Last year we had a blowout with Becca Zero's Clear Foundation taking the #1 spot for the worst product of the year on so many people's lists. And I'm going to do these in no particular order today until we get to the top 3. The top 3 worst products of the year have their own special place. So let's get started. Say hi, Azriel. Why do you look so mean? Before we start talking negatively about products, I just want to say this is my own experience with these products. It worked for you. I'm glad. Nobody wants to waste their money. It just did not work out for me. And these top 3 I would recommend no one ever purchase ever. Or if you have recently purchased it, you should probably start that return now because they're bad. But the rest of the products, like if you had a good experience with them, I'm happy they worked for you. I do want to give a quick small business shout out to my own small business, theopencrypt.com. It's where my anatomical heart earrings are from today. And yeah, you can check out, I have lashes, accessories, bath salts, wax melts, all kinds of fun things maybe you'd enjoy. Stickers, magnets, all kinds of stuff. So I'll leave a link down below if you want to support my small business. I'd appreciate it. And let's get started. I'm so nervous. I feel like whenever I talk negatively in a video, people are like, you're such a bad person. And I'm like, no, some things just don't work out. Okay, so again, I just want to reiterate, these are in no particular order until we get to the top 3. The top 3, I'm gonna let y'all know what it is. So firstly, let's start off with the Glamlite Mascara. This is a mascara that came out of the Scooby-Doo collection from Glamlite, and I'm very grateful to Glamlite who gifted it to me, which was like so unexpected. I just hate this mascara with a passion. It's not good. It's super dry. I feel like it doesn't really coat my lashes very well. It doesn't make them super black or super dark. It really just does nothing for me. Like, I tried to like this. I tried to make it work by wearing it a couple times, but every single time I use it, I'm like, ooh, let me just cover it up with a different mascara. So this for me was a fail, even though I love the name Mascara. I love Glamlite as a company in general. I think their formula for their shimmer eyeshadows was like that girl. But this mascara is not it. Next up, I'm actually wearing this today. So this is a terrible product, especially for the price points. However, I have tried to get some use out of it. So this is the Jacqueline Cosmetics Skin Tint. And the skin, I have the shade Fair, but it's the Skin Perfecting Blurring Tint is the official name of it. I did a video. If I have video reviews of these, like dedicated videos reviews, I'll leave them linked in the description box for you. But the Jacqueline Skin Tint I did a review. And it's kind of expensive for what you're getting. I've only used it maybe 3-4 times. And I'm already like up to here out of product. Like, you don't get the amount of product that you should in this. It's an expensive price point and it barely does anything. Like, here's my skin. So obviously I'm wearing concealer under my under eyes. And even spot point to my face. But can we see I'm already having creasing and it's already sinking into my fine lines. It's not really covering any redness. See, it didn't even cover that. It didn't cover anything on my face. It like has the most, I don't even want to call it coverage to your skin. Like, I feel like I could put on sunscreen. It would have the same coverage as this skin blurring perfection, blah, blah, blah. I feel like it doesn't make my skin look blurred or pretty. I think it maybe evens me out a little bit. Not more than any other product in the world would do. I think I've had like tinted moisturizers that were half the price do way more for me. This does the bare minimum. Do I wear it once in a while? Yeah, I think I've worn it 4 times. Today is one of those 4 times because it was an expensive product. But for the price point, like literally go with any BB cream, any CC cream, anything you want, any tinted moisturizer in the world, and you'll use less product. I'm wearing 2.5 full pumps of this on my face, and yeah, I just feel like it enhances texture. I don't think it looks very good, but this is this. I purchased it, so I'm gonna tell you if it was good or not, and it was not. Next up, I love this brand, but this product was not it for me. So this is the Ofra Liquid Highlighter in the shade Monroe. They have 3 different shades of this when they came out with it. I don't know if they have more now, but it's just a liquid highlighter. And the issue with this is the fact that it's not a highlighter at all. So let me put my hand. So here's what it looks like. It's a pretty like champagne-y gold, right? But when I blend it into the skin, first of all, it's very wet. Like it's very watery wet. But when you blend it in, you have to blend it like, so it's not wet anymore, right? You gotta blend it out. It disappears. I feel like it just moisturized my skin a little bit. The only shininess I see right here is from the skin being wet. Like overall, this is not, my regular skin looks just as moisturized as this does. It's not glowy enough, especially if you use powder or anything. If you have concealer on your face, it kind of wants to separate from your foundation or concealer. I don't like it. I don't like, if you want to moisturize your shoulders or something, I guess. But like literally a lotion would do that. It's not highlighty. Like even my fingers that I just swatched it with, they're not shimmery. Like it's not a highlighter, and it's so wet and slick. Next up, I have an affordable foundation. Now, I don't like to talk crap about affordable foundations because I have some good ones in my collection that I love. Like the Pretty Fresh from ColourPop is my go-to everyday foundation. If I wear makeup 6 days a week, I'm wearing that 4 to 5 days a week. Like it's my favorite foundation in the world. So this is not a knock on affordable products whatsoever. This is a knock on this particular affordable product, and it is the Makeup Revolution IRL Filter Longwear Foundation. Now this is in the shade F1. I just want to say, for being the lightest shade, this is very tan, and I have to make sure I use a really light setting powder with this or else I look too tan. Like it just doesn't match my skin tone. Make lighter shades, Makeup Revolution. Are you kidding me? Like we have the problem on both ends, very fair and very deep, and the very deep ones, even when they have them, they're too freaking warm for a lot of people, so I don't feel like it's very inclusive. And in the fair shades, you might get one and hope it's your undertone, like it's usually too warm. So bad shade range. And this I feel like is so chemically smelling. Like it's an overwhelming fragrance to the foundation that I don't appreciate. And then I feel like it just enhances all my texture. It's not a beautiful finish, and I could do without it. I've tried to wear it several times, but every time I'm like, wow, my face looks really textured today, and I can smell it. Like the foundation smell sits in my sponge, I think. Next up is a product that I have decluttered, but I will put pictures on the screen for you. And this is the Tarte Foundation Shape Tape. We love Shape Tape Concealer. Shape Tape Cloud Foundation. Now I reviewed this at the beginning of the year, and for context, I do have dry skin. So tell me why this foundation made me feel oily and wet and slick in every area, like my chin or my smile lines or on the sides of my face. Anywhere that didn't have concealer instantly rushed away. Like it was gone. All on my forehead, the foundation would just separate and leave, and I felt oily, and I had no foundation on some of my face. Like it just did not work out for me. And if you have oily skin, I can't imagine how much of a nightmare it'd be on your skin, because again, my skin's dry. It should just hold the foundation and not go anywhere. But I just felt so wet and gross, and it did not have that Shape Tape level of coverage that I expected with the Shape Tape name in that line. It just did not work out for me, and I did not enjoy it, so I don't have it anymore. Next up, we have the Fenty Beauty Setting Powder, specifically in the shade Lavender. Now, I've had the butter one before. It's a little yellow for me, but I thought it was so fluffy and soft and lovely, and I enjoyed it. This lavender one makes me look dry, okay? She's dry. She's not the same fluffy softness. It's just like, pah, like SpongeBob sound effect, pah, like dry. I don't like how it makes my under eyes look. It looks not good. Meanwhile, when I picked up the butter one, like the other one I had was butter, and it was so fluffy and soft, it made my under eyes look so nice and clean and crispy. That does the opposite. I look old with that. Lastly, before we get into the top 3 worst products of the year, shout out to the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Beauty Killer 2 eyeshadow palette. It was terrible. Basically that. I feel like the color scheme was random, made no sense, and of course you could just say, oh, well, you just didn't know what to do with it. I had no idea what to do with it. I tried my best, and then when I did find shades that I enjoyed in the palette, like that lime yellow green, I felt it was so dry, so patchy. No matter how much I built it up on a nice white eyeshadow base, I could never get it to that full opacity because it was just not a good formulation, not a very good pigmentation on that shadow. So overall, I just felt like the Beauty Killer 2 palette was such a disappointment and not something I would recommend. And also, honestly, those just look like a bunch of random shades someone threw in a hat and he picked out. I did not enjoy the palette whatsoever. Now on to the top 3 worst products of the year. Are we ready, you guys? Firstly, this first entry is a new purchase for me, and I've already mentioned it twice, so we're gonna talk about this very briefly since I feel like I just talked about it, you know, but it's bad. This is the Lime Crime liquid lipstick in the shade Blood Moon. It came in a trio, and the other two shades from the trio are nice. They're fine. I feel like Lime Crime probably was one of the first innovators of the liquid lipstick, and that's why they're known for it, but the formula is like beaten out by a bunch of way better formulas. This Blood Moon color in particular though, is so bad. It's like, okay, so I'm gonna give it a little swatch and blend it out for you. It wants to grab onto parts of my face, and it wants to hold on, and it wants to bleed outside of my lip lines, which is really strange and doesn't usually happen. It's very streaky. No matter how many layers you put on it, I feel like it's still streaky and it's uncomfortable. And then again, the bleeding on my lines, and I feel like I have to keep overlining my lips to compensate for it. It's a really terrible formula. So Blood Moon, avoid like the plague. Okay, top 2 worst products of the year. The number 2 placement goes for the REM Beauty Concealer. I still have the little sponge that came with this concealer. The sponge isn't that bad, but the REM Beauty Concealer, I did a review of because it was one of the first like actual things I could review from Ariana Grande's new makeup line when it came out, right? I wanted to try the concealer because I like the idea of a potted concealer. I like the idea of like just scooping out a little bit and using what I need rather than like using a wand and re-putting the wand back into the container and making it kind of gross, you know, bacteria on your face and stuff. So I like the idea of a potted concealer. But for me, this thing was bad. One, it was hard to know how much concealer I needed. I feel like after a couple times, you'd probably know how much you needed. But when you went to go, you applied it to your face like with the little spatula they gave you. And then you go to blend it out. It blends the coverage away. Like every time you blend, the coverage is gone. Like the coverage was not there, even though how many layers of it I put on to kind of stack and try to get that good coverage from the concealer. It didn't do it. It really wanted to crease on me, and then every bit of discoloration under my eyes, like blue and purple that I have, you know, just naturally, you could see every bit of discoloration underneath my skin, and it was creasing constantly even though I just applied it. And then I had to keep adding layers to try to get good coverage because it's supposed to be medium to full coverage. It was none of those things, and it was pretty expensive for how much product you got in the first place. So for me, that was one of the worst products of the year. Okay, so the number 1 worst product of the year, this was the easiest thing in the world. When something's that bad, it really stands out to you. And sorry, Jacqueline, your skin tint was already in this video, but the Jacqueline Cosmetics concealer. If you go in the clearance section of Ulta right now, it's on sale for like, I think it's like $6. And it was like 20 something originally. This is the worst product I've tried in like a really long time. Even the Becca Zero Clear Foundation adjusts to your skin and gives you a nice blurring effect. At least that could be used as a primer. This Jacqueline concealer. So I'm someone who does not mind a product drying down fast. I like, you know, just apply it and do it. I don't need to just sit on my skin for a really long amount of time. You apply this Jacqueline concealer with the wand and it's dry and you can't blend it out. And you're like, oh, struggling your heart out to try to blend this out with your sponge or your brush or your fingers or anything. It would not. It would not. And then if you like let it, let's say you applied it, and then you went to go blend this side out and you're struggling to get it to blend. By the time you get to this side, it's locked down. There is patchinesses in your foundation of just showing where that concealer went. It did not cover my under eyes. It didn't cover my dark circles. It was patchy, inconsistent, and it dried so quickly. And then when it wanted to cling to certain parts of your face, it clung to parts of your face and looked like you had streaks on your face. Literally the worst concealer I've ever used in my life. Probably the worst complexion product I've ever used in my life. I've used a lot of concealers, I've used a lot of foundations, a lot of primers, stuff like that, setting powders, everything. That is without a doubt the worst product. And the fact that I know people love Jacqueline, right? I find her very entertaining personally. This is not the first Jacqueline product to be bad, and people are always like, oh, I'm rooting for her. So sad that these labs always do her dirty. How did that get past anything? How did that concealer go up for sale? Like the hairy lipsticks, okay? You didn't know about it, I understand. And you gave everybody a refund, so I understand. But the fact that concealer has never been addressed and people don't talk about how bad it is blows my mind. You can root for Jacqueline. You can be on her side. You can want her to do well. That is perfectly fine. But you could not sit here and tell me that that concealer was anything less than a dumpster fire. Like, it's such a bad concealer, you guys. I'm not even being dramatic. I should be more dramatic about it. I would rather never wear concealer again a day in my life than wear that for a week. That's how bad it is. And I love concealer. It's my favorite thing because I'm very insecure about my under eyes. But anyways, thank you guys so much for joining me for this interesting negative journey. I will also be doing a best products of the year later on. So if you have any suggestions for products you'd like to see in that video, let me know. If I try them, maybe I'll include them in my list. So thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you later. Have a lovely and safe day out there wherever you are. And again, you can check out my small business if you want to, link down below. Okay, bye guys. Have a good one.